Elections have just been concluded off-cycle elections have just been concluded in Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa. And it's typical of Nigeria, the elections fell short of the global acceptable standards in terms of electioneering and conducting elections. And of course, it's no longer news that the Nigerian economy is in the dire straits. And you ask yourself, what is off-cycle election? A lot of people do not even understand what we mean by off-cycle election. And today on Joy Research Blog, we'll be looking at the elections, economy, and the Nigerian state, where we get to talk about what led to the off-cycle election, of course, and the role the judiciary is playing in the Nigerian electoral system. But don't forget to like, share, and comment. Now, let's begin with the elections in Nigeria. Now, the off-cycle elections are elections that were decided in court, and then after the general elections have been decided, and then the courts have to announce that such persons have become the governor, and then, of course, based on the Nigerian constitution, the day you take oath of office determines when your administration starts. And that's why we've had off-cycle elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. And of course, in January, we'll still be having elections in Edo, Ondo, and with the way things are going in Nigeria, we should be seeing more of off-cycle election, which of course is not a good thing for the Nigerian democracy.
The off-cycle governorship elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo states have been concluded across the three states. However, the conduct and outcome of those exercises and the attendant consequences on the country's electoral process form the crux of the discussions among many election observers.
Let's start with the elections. Now, scholars, Nigerians, politicians have always said, there's no best democracy anywhere in the world. If they try to say, the British democracy, which is over 80 years old, the American democracy, which is hundreds of years old, that is not perfect. Yes, we understand that democracy anywhere in the world is not perfect. But the democracy in Nigeria falls short of that threshold to even be described as not perfect. That to tell you that Nigerian democracy is not even anywhere near the threshold to be described as even to make a comparative analysis, even with the advanced democracy, considering the fact that certain characteristics have defined the Nigerian democracy as electioneering. Now, our focus will be on electioneering, of course. And in British democracy, or in England's democracy, in American democracy, in Canadian democracy, during elections, you don't see ballot box snatching, you don't see Togri having its way, you don't see the prevalence of religion and ethnicity as a deciding factor. Of course, these I've just mentioned, the Togri, these are the old orders, but of course, it's still prevalent still visible in the current space of election in Nigeria, considering the fact that even if we've tried to digitalize the elections in Nigeria, but we still have some elements of the old order in terms of ballot box snatching and the rest of them having impacts on the recent elections in Nigeria. Okay, and now what are the new forms, the new order of electioneering in Nigeria? Now, since 2015, Nigeria decided to adopt the electronic voting, decided to digitalize the elections and all of that. But has that really helped in curbing electoral malpractices? The answer is absolutely no. This is considering, let's look at what happened in the last elections in Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa. There were reports of pre-filled result sheets. Like in the 2023 presidential election, non-transmission of electoral vote, discrepancies in what you have on the IREV, which is the body where the divisor collects all the results, and the discrepancy in the number of votes there and the discrepancy in what you have on paper. There's so many things and that's come to redefine Nigerian elections. And one very critical thing that is now very common, that is has resulted in or is threatening to bring more off-cycle elections in Nigeria, is the role the judiciary is playing in all of this. Now, elections are meant to be decided by the people, okay, in terms of the number of votes and all of that. But we find out these days, on very frivolous technical grounds, the judiciary now seem to be the ones who determine winners in elections, as against the popular will of the people. And we've seen just within 2-3 weeks, we've seen the appeal courts, okay, notifying elections and then upholding some of the elections. And then you find out that it's become a pattern that those within the ruling party have always had their elections upheld by the appellate court, and then you find the elections of the opposition been notified or declared no winner, or declaring re-elections, as it were. And then you ask yourself, what is going on in Nigeria? Is the judiciary still the hope of the common man? And you ask yourself, for example, let me take a cue from what happened at the presidential elections. You know, the appeal court argued, the learned judges argued, that when the issue of what happened within the APC came up, the court ruled that whatever happened in the party is strictly a party affair. But when the same issue came up in Plateau State, the appeal court ruled that the APC have a good grounds for appeal. And then the same thing happened in Ebonyi. And then all within party nomination structures, no proper nomination. But I used to think, let me put this in the layman's language, that one ruling can be used for another ruling. I'm not really a lawyer, but I can tell that based on what happened at the appeal court and the Supreme Court for the presidential elections, for the presidential appeal, the same should have been applied to Kogi, Ebonyi, and other states. But of course, it is Nigeria. Anything can happen. Now, let's talk about the economy. Recently, we've heard from this former CBN governor, the National Security Advisor, we've heard from Minister of Budget and Planning, we've heard from senators, we've heard from top government officials that the country is bankrupt, that the country is broke, that the economy is going down, it's dwindling. And then we ask yourself, some of these persons who have mentioned now that the economy is bankrupt, the economy is this, the economy is that. Now, these were the same people who said in the previous administration, when the previous administration was in power, that the immediate past president has revived the economy. They argue that Nigeria has never had it this good, that the economy is in the safe hands, and whatever it is that the immediate past president was doing so well to make sure everything comes back to normal. And then you ask yourself this question: why are they speaking now? What difference? What's the difference between that time and now? And then even during the campaigns, the current president said he's going to build on the legacies of the previous administration, and the legacies in terms of economy, security, just name it. And then you ask yourself, these same people are now saying that the country is bankrupt. In my opinion, I think one of the reasons why we have this double talk of top government officials when it comes to the economy is what I call political sycophancy. You know, when the government is in power, everybody who wants to benefit will always try to say everything good in the books about the administration at the detriment of the ordinary Nigerians. This is where the problem is. And then, what is the current government doing to revive the economy? Oh, there have been so many talk here and there. In Nigeria, we do a lot of talking, But you ask yourself, how much implementation are we doing? And how is the current administration helping to revive the economy? In my opinion, I think they are not doing much, considering the fact that this what I would describe as misplaced priority. Now, misplaced priority in the sense that only recently the current administration had to do a supplementary budget of over 2 trillion. Now, the 2 trillion is nothing other than to purchase vehicles and yachts for the president.
A deeper look into the supplementary budget forwarded to the National Assembly by President Bola Tinubu reveals that the federal government plans to spend 6.9 billion naira on procurement of vehicles for the State House. In the proposed budget, the Office of the First Lady, which is not a constitutional creation, will get 1.5 billion naira for the purchase of new cars. Also, the federal government has proposed to appropriate the sum of 5 billion naira for the purchase of a presidential yacht under the Navy capital expenditure, while another 2.9 billion naira is to be spent on sports utility vehicles (SUVs) for the presidential villa, and another 2.9 billion naira on replacing cars in the pool. This amount is different from another 12.5 billion naira to be spent on the presidential air fleet. In all, President Tinubu plans to spend 28 billion naira on the State House.
And this is not, and come to think of it now, this supplementary budget to buy cars for the office of the First Lady, the President, to buy yachts and all of that, and then they are not even patronizing local investors. They are not even patronizing local manufacturers. This money is being taken out of the Nigerian economy to create jobs for people in other parts of the world. How do we then grow the economy? The dollar is all-time high, and then you have, ask yourself, the humongous amount of money spent in purchasing vehicles for parliamentarians. Now, how much impact will that have on the Nigerian economy? It's one explanation the government is here to give us.
That they approve a Land Cruiser for us. And somebody that is a minister, you have more than 6, maybe 3 Land Cruiser, Prado, and other vehicles in their convoy. And you are not asking them questions. Please spare us a bit. And this vehicle that you take, go to Nigerian roads today. If I go home once to my senatorial district, I come back spending a lot on my vehicle because our roads are bad.
And you ask yourself, some excessive government spending. The president is traveling out of the country and the governors are traveling. Only recently we've seen situations where, based on transparency, now people can now access spendings. And then you see frivolous amount being spent on things that will not make any impact in the life of the common man or even make any impact in the economy. Budgeting huge amount of money to buy fans, to buy food for entertainment and all of that. The economies do not grow that way. Well, one of the things I would recommend as a way forward here in terms of the election is we have a banking system where people transfer money. We have well over 120 or 160 million, according to the Bureau of Statistics, we have close to 160 million accounts, BVNs and all of that. Now, if we can manage the banking sector digitally, why not the elections? So there shouldn't be any need for collation officer and all of that. The results should be transmitted immediately as people are voting. It is transmitted somewhere where no one will be able to manipulate. And then you ask yourself, in terms of the economy, there's excessive borrowing going on right now. How do we repay all of this? Now, what would like your thoughts and what you think is the way forward on how to revive the Nigerian economy, how to get the elections right. And don't forget to follow Joy Research Blog for more analysis on the issues in Nigeria, Africa, and across the globe. Don't forget to like, to share, and to comment.